can figure out if you're...
Do you want me to film the slideshow?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
To figure out how to catch your audience's attention, it's always nice to come up with a nice saying or a picture. Candy's probably not a good idea. After class, that kind of, sugary bribery might work well. Make them, no, I'm just joking. But it's always good to have something that's keen and visual. Now, this PowerPoint was not made by me, but it does some wonderful things, like visually, because it gives you a clean bill of health, right? It's got a few words on it. What does it say? I like that. Isn't that kind of jazzy? You think of Winston Churchill, you think of, crazy old man, but he's a little saucy right here, isn't he? Right? So he piques your interest. I heard some giggles in the audience from some people who read what he said, right? Mm-hmm. It's not something that you would naturally attribute to him, but it tells you something, right?
That's right. And he's just like, never look at that.
Ooh. Oh God, I really like that one. The human brain starts working the moment you are born and never stops until you stand up to speak in public.
Right line.
Anybody relate to that? Yeah. Okay. So you can see a quotation, at the very beginning of any delivery can do a number of things, right? Now these are all examples of quotes that you can use. All related to public speaking, obviously, right? And so you can use anything like this. And lovely cartoon people that are really old looking now, right? Because now we can do other flashy things. But it is very true about anxiety. We already talked about it, right? Still true. It's the biggest fear. People are like, ooh, death is a third. It's not the number one thing. Public speaking, snakes, and then death. That's what people are worried about. Yeah, I thought that was kind of bizarre.
How is that?
But I think that is probably true. Because when people stand up to speak in public, they carry with them their experiences from before. Right? From, if you're shy, if you're unsure of your subject matter, or you're unsure of what's expected from you, that can come off in your speech, can't it? And so if you have that type of fear in your mind, and you're like, if I don't pass this class, I can't graduate. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my financial aid if I don't pass this class. There's a lot of anxiety that can be riding. And no one knows where that anxiety comes from.
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about public speaking. I'm thinking about the snake part.
Right. For me, it's a racket. Because me and spiders, we don't get along.
Spiders. So yeah, it's
thank you.
that probably the spiders like snakes. I think I remember the spiders.
I don't know. I think I don't know. Snakes?
But
But public speaking is something that people are afraid of. So if you have a little bit of that fear, then you're going to use that energy to create something for your audience and for yourself. But recognize it is very natural. So, we've already started talking about the communication process. You understand what it is. You understand that just because I'm up here talking to you, it doesn't mean that it's a one-way street. You guys are not walking and you are empty cups that I have to fill up. You all came in with your own experiences, your own backgrounds. It's a process, and we share in it. So even though I may be doing the majority of the speaking in class, I'm also looking at my audience, and you guys are talking to me verbally and non-verbally. And so when you recognize that, you understand the communication itself as a process. It's ongoing. And it doesn't stop, does it? Not really. Always remember that you cannot not communicate. Just because you breathe and you think you're not saying anything, that's not true, right? So whether you're breathing quickly, whether you're breathing shallowly, whether you got hiccups, Whether you have gum in your mouth like I do, because I have a dry mouth, whatever the reason, you're communicating something. We've already talked about things that motivate people. You have to understand that not everybody has your expectations or your experience. And so we have to be welcoming. And we also need to understand what you can do to change that dynamic. We've already talked about, we understand the context of each speech that we do in class is to get a grade. We're learning a skill. So we understand that is the situation that we find ourselves in, that we put ourselves in for whatever reason. That is our context. Now, which speech that we provide when is also a context. So we know that the narrative is next week, and we know that it's about ourselves, and we're using a character as a referent so that we can build a rapport with our audience to start that conversation. Okay? We already understand your purpose, your central idea, your preview of your main points, your speech-making process, which is what we started today, and what we'll end with today as we do a little hands-on stuff. The first thing that you have to do is say, okay, everybody has a little bit of that. I'm not unique in that. I have to recognize that, breathe it in, and accept that. I know that that can be a little difficult. So I don't say that lightly, because I failed this class twice as an undergrad, so I don't say it lightly. Like literally. Public speaking? Yeah. Mm-hmm. The first time, I broke out in sweat so bad. There was an ocean beneath my feet. It was just absolutely terrible. And I did speak with my professor about it, and I said, I'm so sorry, I just don't think I can do this. And she said, no. Take my class next semester, we're going to work on this. I lasted 2 weeks. I had my headphones on, I was trying to calm myself down. I was going to walk into the classroom, and she knew it, she saw it coming. I walked right there at the door with my headphones on and my shock showing on my face. I looked at her, I looked at my seat, I looked at her, I looked at my seat. I looked at her, she was like, yes. She's going to come in. I said, and I dropped the class. I was like, that's it. No. We're going to have to come up with something different because I'm not doing that public speaking thing. I can't talk in public. Of course, anyone can talk in public. But I had to recognize it, and I had to figure out a way to overcome it. Yeah, I started acting like I was confident. I had studied theater for 3.5 years. That's how I overcame it. I thought that I was actually pretending to be somebody else on the stage, which was not true. I was being myself, just in a different circumstance. Woo! When I figured that out, then I was like, why am I afraid to go? But it was a slow process for me. So, anybody in here in theater? Okay. So, you know all those people that you're like, oh, they're such good actors? And, ooh, Academy Award, guess what? The reason why everybody has to go to therapy is because you really are yourself. You know, so Tom Hanks really was Forrest Gump. He was Forrest Gump. You know, Tom Hanks was truly Forrest Gump. You have to become that person, and the only way to become that person is to recognize the characteristics that you and that person share. You become that person. So Tom Hanks was actually, you know, he became a person who was born at that time, in that season, who had those experiences. Kind of blew my mind when I figured that out. I was like, oh, they're all acts of public speaking. Acting is a bunch of different public speaking acts. It's not. They're not pretending to be somebody else. And so then, if I could do that, then why couldn't I just be who I am in my own skin right now? So I could act confident. And by acting confident, I became more confident. I was able to use my nervous energy. Instead of going, oh my God, I can't go in the door, I was like, I'm ready. Okay, let me use this, let me use this. Okay, when I walk in, this is what I want to do. This is why I'm doing it. I got this. I just used the same nervousness, that same fear that I had to do something different. Okay? So, practice, practice, practice. Yes, it is a speech about yourself. But what I want you to do today, and until you come in next Wednesday to give that speech, and we will be doing it in alphabetical order. I'm sorry to tell you that, no, I'm not.
Your name, last name, and age you first.
And it's not by first name. I actually had somebody say that to me. I'm like, I am not going by first name. I'm going by last name, okay? Right. So anybody that's named Angela, no, go ahead, or Andy.
So if you're doing it in alphabetical order, will everybody be able to deliver their speech on the same day?
Yes. Yes, because it's a very short speech. And so we're going to be very effective, and we're going to go over that. Okay. So you're going to go home and you're going to practice, practice, practice. One of the ways to overcome some of that anxiety, because I'm going to tell you the truth, we are much harder on ourselves than our audience will ever be.
That's right.
Your audience doesn't know if you mess up. The only way they know that you messed up is you have to tell them.
Show it,
Like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Dang, why did you say that? Okay. I mean, stop. Can I start over? No, your time. No one starts over. Just keep going, right? Keep going. Just go ahead and push through. One way that you can do that is you take a sticky note, you put it on your mirror in the bathroom or in your bedroom, wherever you feel comfortable, and you begin to give your speech. Every time you look down at your note card, you put a tally mark. And your goal, as you practice, is to look at your note card less and to decrease the amount of tally marks that you have. Also, looking yourself in the face, because you are your harshest critic, it takes away some of that scariness. Because, if you're scared of yourself, you got some other problems that we have to deal with, right? And so looking yourself in the face and seeing that you're able to do this, it does help. It actually helps. I also do that if you use too many ums when you're talking. And what I was trying to say was, because too many ums in a speech detracts from your message. Your audience gets lost, and so do you. Because you're so busy trying to not mess up that you begin to mess up. And so if you want to decrease the amount of ums that you have, you can make a tally mark of your ums. Only work on one skill at a time. Don't try to work on everything all at once, because did you learn how to run before you crawl? How many of you did that? Run. You ran. You were like, you did a marathon. No? Right. That's the equivalent of trying to do everything all. You're trying to build every skill you've ever had into one act, and that's not how it works. And so you're all graded individually. And so you're all going to have things that you have to work on as individuals, and that's what you're grading on. So you have time to work on one thing at a time. So I'm not expecting perfection, but I am going to be looking to make sure that you give me your best effort. You want my best effort? How many of you want my best effort? Okay, I want yours too. All right? So practice, practice, practice. I can always tell if you did something in the last 24 hours. I don't know why you guys think that we can't, but we always know. Even if we don't say, we talk to ourselves, a student came in, and then we just start laughing. Last night they were up at midnight trying to find some information because it didn't make any goddamn sense. And then I know, so then they have to go and you have to do all that work all over again, because guess what? You have to do it right. So instead of rushing it, you do things one step at a time. So you knew you were going to have to give a speech on the very first day that you signed up for the class, because it was a public speaking class. When you got your syllabus, and we talked about it last week, you knew that on the, next week you're going to have your first speech. And I said, now remember, each time we meet, it's like 2 class sessions. So things are going to happen very quickly, and you have to pay attention and keep up. Don't fall behind. All of that involves practice. It's practicing good study habits and keeping on task and preparing before you get to campus. So if you have to go print something out when you get here, like 5 minutes before class, and you're going to be late to class because you have to print something, is your assignment late? Are you going to be allowed to give your speech? No. Can we say that again? If you are late to class, and I'm not talking about you had a flat tire, I'm talking about Dr. Lawrence, I had to go print out my outline. You had to print it out? You told me that like 10 minutes ago. Well, I had to finish up some stuff. Then, no. You're 15 minutes late to class because you weren't ready. You weren't ready, but we were. And so we want to respect one another. So practice, practice, practice. All of that happens before you get on campus on the day of your speech. You can't do that on the day of the speech and then expect to have the outcome that you want. It's just not useful. Don't set yourself up for failure in that way. All of you can seem very capable to me. The simulating the setting at home, that means, you know, taking your kids or cousins, siblings, I don't care, faces from magazines, putting them on chairs, and then trying to do your speech. That's right. And so if you notice, I try to make sure that I look at everybody in the class, because everybody in the class is part of my audience.
That's right.
And so you need to practice panning your vision so that you can look at the people in your audience. Now, if you have a problem looking at them in their face, you can actually pick spots in the room that you can look at, and it still seems like I'm actually looking at people. Am I looking at people right now? No, I'm not. Actually, I just crossed my eyes a little bit so that you became unfocused, and I only looked at the wall behind you. And I looked at the carpet a little bit. But you don't know that, right? Unless I tell you. So if you're having a problem really establishing eye contact with your audience to begin with, that's one of the things that you can do. But eventually you're going to have to face your audience. Okay? But these are things that, you know, you can simulate things at home to practice, prepare for speech day, and to help decrease your anxiety. Yes?
As you are grading us on our speech, do you have like a point system? Like,
I do.
Okay, that's like
Yes, and I
in the
look to
book, I
see-
think it said smile, you know,
Yes.
little things that it says to you. So those are like the things that we're being graded on?
Yes, and I'm going to show you what's already up, because you've got 17 different supporting materials that are up right now. You should have 19, I'm not sure where the other two went. So I'm going to take a look at that and see where they went. And of course, we've already talked about that, friends, family, doesn't matter. Anybody, puppies, I have 3 dogs at home. I can look at them. They're very cute and small. Okay. If you can't see your own success, will your audience be able to see? Right. And so when you put that energy out, when you try to speak for your audience, to your audience, remember what you're giving out, your audience receives something from you, don't they? Right? They know whether or not you feel that they're really a part of this process, whether they're an important part of it, or not, don't they? Have you ever been in a room when somebody was talking to you and you were like this? Does he or she even know who they're talking to? Because you're not paying any attention to any of the body language in the class. When 50% of your class starts falling asleep, I think you have a problem. Right? So 50% of your audience is like this. You've lost them, haven't you? I can do this. I'm fully capable. We're all in the college classroom right now. We're all going to become whatever success in life we want to become. But you can't become whatever success you want in life unless you can see it in your mind's eye, right? Everybody else around you might be going, what in the world is he or she doing? I know I experienced that. The first person in my family to have a college degree. I experienced that. The first person in my community that I knew of personally, and everybody's like, oh, she was always gonna go to college. I'm like, okay. But what does that mean when you've not seen that for yourself? You have to have something in your mind's eye. It's the same thing. On whatever scale it is, you have to be able to see, I can do this. I can be successful in this. And if you can see it, then so can your audience. People pick up on it. I like me. I think I'm awesome at that. And people love looking at me. I love it. Right? But if you have no confidence about that at all, it comes out in the way that you present the information. So you want to start strong and you want to end strong. Remember, you have to breathe. You think I'm joking? No, I really do. You actually, how many of you guys know that you have to breathe in order to give a speech? Anybody? Okay, now I see people, there are people that didn't have their hands up, but it is the truth. If you cannot breathe, you cannot speak. I know that from my own anxiety. I could not breathe. I could not walk into that room. There was no way I was going to put myself in that pose. No, I came from a background that said that women are quiet. You be quiet. You're directed. I got into so much trouble because I asked too many questions. And so by the time I got to college, I was fully conditioned that you, as a woman, you need to be very quiet and humble. Okay. You took direction, you did not provide it. Unless you were watching children, like your babies or somebody else's babies. But you didn't have any business doing what I'm doing right now. You don't take a leadership role. I found out that that's not true, that you actually have to breathe. So when I figured out that I had to, funny story about speaking in public. I was in this play. I tried out for this play because remember, I'm gonna take care of my anxiety, right? And it was my first play. And I tried out for this role, and I wanted to be the mom. Well, the director said I couldn't be the mom because, well, the guy that they, you know, that was the child, he was white. So they were like, you can't be the mom. I was like, yeah, right, whatever. But I was cool with it. So I ended up being the nurse. And I might have had one or two lines, right? And if you've ever been in a theater, or if not, there's something called theater in the round. And it's literally a circle, and it moves. And so when they move or adjust it, it creates a different space. And there are people on the outside that are the actors that step forward into the light and or onto the circle, whatever the circle is. And so I was sitting there, and the nurse, Lord have mercy. I only had one line, I think, in this play. One line. And that was to introduce the family to the doctor for the appointment. That's all I had to do. That's it. I was sitting there. And I could hear the prompter trying to get me to say my line. And I was sitting there, and all I could think of was there's this huge spotlight. It's right in front of me, and they want me to stand. I need to stand up. I'm going to, I can see myself. I'm going to. Why does he keep, who's now punching me in the back, saying my line? Oh, that is my line. That's my line. And I jumped up, and I yelled the line out. And then I sat down, and I thought, I have so messed up. They're never going to cast me ever again. This is a failure. I will never forget. The following day, the reviews come out, right? And I'm thinking, you know, first of all, hopefully Nobody noticed how messed up I did. It was just messed up. It was just terrible. I completely missed my cue. It's terrible. Oh my God, please nobody. Who got the accolades for that? I only had one line. I was phenomenal. I brought such energy. The energy, I stood up and shouted the one and from the prompter. I was terrified. After that, I was like, why did he even have my name in here? And I'm talking to the director, and I'm like, and he looked at me and he goes, the audience didn't know you messed up. And I go, what? I said, it was so obvious. I was like, did I soak through that nurse's uniform right there on the stage? Because I think I did. And I think I had an accent. But neither one was true, right? But in my mind, I had stopped breathing. I couldn't see me being successful. All I saw was, you have messed up, you only had one line. You thought you could be the mom, but you got more than one line. You couldn't have done that. And they thought that I was just absolutely phenomenal. That I, burst upon the scene and redirected the attention and from one line. And it was because I was afraid. And when I took the breath and I gave the line, the only people that really knew that I messed up were the people who were in the play behind me. And they thought it was absolutely hilarious, right? Because, the first time you give a line in front of a live audience, I guess it's a big deal. But I never thought of it as, but it was literally my first time. They'd been in theater in school. I was the only one who'd never been in a theater production at all. After that, my lines became easier. I could actually breathe on stage. In the end, I could play with my audience. In the end, they actually found a play for me. And boy, did I play with my audience. I wrote it like a storm. It was wonderful. But that never could have happened if I could not see it and if I had never learned how to breathe. You literally can forget to breathe. So learning how to breathe in your own skin is very important. Okay. Message, not fear. Now always tell yourself, you can do this.
What is the index cards?
We're gonna save the rest of this. Okay. All right. So, here in your desire to learn, if you go to the content section, it'll crop up with the syllabus. There's a revised syllabus here for you guys, and then your supporting materials. Under here, there are a number of things. You don't have to be concerned with the outlines for the persuasive speech. If you want to understand how the outline actually provides the bone structure within your body for your speech, the central nervous system is something that was written by a former student. And she very graciously allowed me to share that with everyone that comes behind her, because I think that her analogy was quite wonderful. So it's a very small essay, and I think that it would be very helpful. Now under here, because your narrative speech is an informative speech, you can look in here under the checklist for the informative speech and look and see when you are preparing your outline, which we'll start working on in 4 minutes. You'll be able to see, do you have an effective attention getter? Is your topic related to the audience in some way? Because you do have to relate it to the audience. Otherwise, why would they listen? Do you have a very clear and concise statement of intent? Is your central idea or your thesis clearly stated? So that they know at the end, I want you to walk away with this. So you're going to go over that, you can go over that in depth, and that's good to go. All right. Now, under here you're going to see how to study. That PowerPoint that I did with the delivery, the lovely blue that we were looking at, that's something that you can refer to throughout the semester, because it talks about delivering more than one type of speech. So it's not just the PowerPoint, it's not just this, it's not just that. It's going to talk about some of the needs that your audience is going to have. And, you know, and you as an audience member can recognize what you need from a speaker, right? And so it helps you to craft that. You do have a self-critique, you'll have that. And here is the keyword or phrase delivery outline. You don't have to worry about the motivating sequence, so please don't. Don't look at anything that says it's going to motivate you, because all of that refers to persuasion, and we're not doing persuasion right now. I really want you to get the informative speech pattern down first. It's extremely important. And of course, you have all kinds of forms. I think what's missing is your rubric for the narrative. So I'll find out where that went and make sure that it's up, and if it's not up, I'll provide that for you when we come back into class. But your checklist is going to tell you the things that I'm going to look at and how I'm grading you. The other thing that in your syllabus, it tells you exactly what I'm looking for. So you don't actually have to guess. So don't be afraid that you have to guess over anything. Okay, so very quickly, let's do. So, what you hand in to me is a working outline. It's a full sentence outline. Full sentence. One sentence for each heading or subheading. That's it. I don't really want paragraphs, especially for your narrative. I shouldn't have a bunch of paragraphs. I should have one sentence for each heading or subheading. Are we clear about that? Because we're going to work on it in a minute. So, I'm trying to get it just right. It's not working out for me. So, if you notice here, when you get up and you have a key word, note card, it is not a full sentence, is it? So you're not going to try to write everything on your note card that you have on your outline. Why not?
You're not reading from a page, you're remembering.
That's right, you're remembering. You should know something about yourself. Right? Writing too much information on that note card. Can you please close that door for me? Thank you so much. If you notice, it's just words. Historic role of TTNGR. Now, do I know what that is? No. Should you know what that is? Yes, right? What you want to make sure that you put on your keyword note cards are the authors, because you have to cite. So if you notice right here, it says time March 4, 2003. So we know that they got this information from Time Magazine, but we don't use magazines, so it's just an example, okay? Jones is somebody who wrote something else, Old and Dirty. We don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. Yes?
So you're saying we gotta do this, writing something about ourselves? We have to do the,
If you want to. Oh, okay. You don't have to, but for the other ones, you're probably going to want to, because you will have to have. Now, for this first speech, you don't have to have any outside sources except to refer to the character. So where the character comes from, you need to know how to cite that. But other than that, no. We already know who Oprah is. We don't need to know, we understand who Winnie the Pooh is. So if it's a character that's in a common good that you're referring to, that's fine. Right? But make sure you put the authors on there. Because you don't ever want to use somebody else's work without giving them credit. But if you notice here, these are just words. And the words only have meaning to the person who put them on that note card. For your first speech, you can have no more than 1 to 2 note cards. It is about yourself, but it's good practice for you if you want to, do the keywords. And I'll take a look at your note cards on the day of the speech. I'm always going to do that regardless. So if you did your note cards wrong, you will be penalized for it for the other speeches though. Ooh, don't do that. You're so pretty. She was like, what? Yes. Because you're learning a skill, right? So you get points for doing it correctly. All right, so here it is. This person has their introduction. Maybe it's a quick story that they think it's, what would you like to live without running water and electricity? So obviously this is something, so we're talking about the gold rush. And then you might want to put your conclusion to remind yourself. And that's it. There's nothing more. It's kind of defeats the purpose. It's kind of anticlimactic, isn't it? Dang it. Okay. At this time, we're going to start working on our actual outlines right now. So at least you can get a start. Taliesin, we are done filming for the day.